Why, hello everyone, welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV on PlayFrame. Turns out we've got a date with the Sultana today. Not like a date, obviously, just we've been summoned. We're supposed to go say hi to the Sultana over in Ul'dah. Let's go say bye to our friends so that we can head over to Ul'dah and not keep the Sultana waiting. In case you're wondering, I'm not planning on staying in Alamigo. Too many bad memories. And besides, I like my new life. And we like having you. In the Scions, I mean. I know I could learn so much from Raubahn if he decided to stay. But it's his choice, and I'm not about to try and persuade him. Ul'dah needs him too. That is true. Very, very true. Alphino's thoughts appear to have turned from adventure to administration, as they so inevitably do. Well, the question of how to put the Mad King's treasures to good use shows no sign of answering itself. Shall we be about it, Arnvald? I'm at your beck and call. And I should be getting back to my own tasks. I'll organize a squad to head down into the ruins, and then start preparing for the big meeting. Oh, send Nonimo my regards, Derman. You got it. And ours too, if you please. We shall see you on your return. Alrighty. Well, okay. Time for me to be off to an Ul'dah. There we are. Home sweet home. Let's go say hello. Been a bit since we had a chance to say hi to her. My lord, it was an honor to face you in the tournament. Since that day, I've spent my every spare moment in the practice yard, striving to attain some fraction of your skill with the blade. I see we left quite an impression at that whole Ishgardian Grand Company tournament thing. Forgive me. You're here for your audience with the Sultana. Please, proceed.
I thank you for answering my summons in these most interesting times. You have been busy.
That is true.
The liberation of Alamigo will have far-reaching consequences, and there is a matter upon which I would seek your counsel. I speak of Raubahn and his future. All know the tale of his rise from penniless refugee to member of the Syndicate and General of the Immortal Flames. Yet though he has come to call Ul'dah home, it will never be his homeland. He is a son of Alamigo.
Makes sense.
And now that she is free, I thought it only a matter of time before he sought my leave to return to her. Indeed, I had resigned myself to his loss. Suffice it to say, I was greatly surprised to hear him speak so lightly of handing over the reins in Alamigo and retaking his place at my side. I will welcome him with open arms, of course. He is my most trusted advisor and my dearest friend. But I have known the man a long time, and beneath that steely gaze, I spied a flicker of doubt. Whether Raubahn chooses to remain in Ul'dah or return to Alamigo, I only wish that he do so with a heart unburdened by guilt or regret. Yet, how can he freely make such a choice, knowing how much I depend on him? It is past time that I learned to discharge my duties as a Sultana alone. I must go forth and see my realm with my own eyes, and hear the wind with my own ears. Might I have your company for a brief adventure?
We're getting invited to so many adventures lately. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Allow me a moment to change into something a touch less conspicuous, and I will join you outside.
Oh, this should be fun. Okay, we are to speak with Nonimo outside the quicksand. Let's go meet her out there. You know what, let's just hurry and meet her out there. Our protection is needed. And there you are in your disguise again. Still seems to work for you. Perchance you remember Lilira, the merchant's daughter? This is the persona I assume when I venture beyond the palace walls to observe my subjects unnoticed. Ordinarily, Papa Shan would accompany me, but for this particular outing I need an advisor, not a minder. And that is why I requested your company. Over the course of your many adventures, you've met people from all walks of life, in every corner of Eorzea, and I would make use of your worldly experience. Now let us be on our way. Our first destination is Stone's Throw, just beyond the Gate of Nald. Okay, meet you out there. It's a lovely evening in our homeland. I really enjoy that, especially in the patches. They give you a lot of reason to go back to old stomping grounds. Nostalgic. Look upon this procession of tattered tents. These refugees camp in squalor, at the mercy of the elements and Thanalin's predators both. The city's mighty walls offer safety, but the streets overflow with people as it is. And unless blessed by the hand of Nald himself, no refugee could ever hope to afford a dwelling in Ul'dah. 20 years have passed since the fall of Alamigo, and 5 since the calamity, yet the plight of the poor has grown more desperate, not less. As Sultana, the blame falls upon me. Both of these are true. You have done your best, Your Grace, and your hands have also been very tied by a select number of individuals who will remain nameless, but you know exactly who I'm talking about, yes? Yes, my authority is limited, and that is an obstacle I must work to overcome. Shall we press on? I would follow the road to the unholy air. What is that one, exactly? I am not familiar. Man, it is downright nostalgic running through these old places, with Derman specifically. Just memories of the initial episodes recorded doing all this. It's great. Sultana, where did you go? That was a very long way to hike. It was here, in this wholly unremarkable place, that my mother and father met their doom. Oh. That I did not know. I was but a child at the time. My parents were returning from an inspection of our interests in eastern Thanalin when an untimely rockslide crushed their carriage. To this day, it's not certain if the incident was simple misfortune or an expertly planned assassination. Raban once offered to reopen the investigation and bring me the truth he assumed I must surely crave, but I refused. Even if my parents' death were orchestrated by the monitorists, we would only have brought their hirelings to justice. The true villains, those who plotted to put me on the throne as a biddable puppet, were ever beyond our reach. Thus did I plan to strip the merchants of their power and place our nation in the hands of its citizens, quite unaware of the consequences my actions would have for you and yours. I shudder to think how many goodly souls paid the price for my naivety. But I am no longer a child reciting words with witless obedience, and I'll not be used as a pawn in the monitorists' damnable games. Forgive me my outburst. You're one of the few people to whom I feel I can speak my mind. Come, let us return to Ul'dah and visit the Colosseum. Okie dokie. That's a long way. Do you want to ride it? Okay. Caught up with you. Okay. Caught up with you. From the moment I became Sultana, I found myself thrust into an endless parade of document signing and ceremonies. For years, I simply signed where I was told to sign and sat where I was told to sit, blissfully oblivious to what any of it meant. Yet one good thing did come from that ignominious chapter in my life, for it was during an official visit to the Colosseum that I first met Raban. The match I'd been invited to attend was not at all what I expected. They had pitted the Bull of Alamigo against some dozen or so rival gladiators. Blinkered though I was, I would not stand for so obvious an injustice, and demanded to see a fair fight, one man against another, and my royal wish was duly granted. It was not until later that I learned of the gambling ring which had arranged for Raban to die on the sands that day. Regardless, my intervention meant that Raban had but a single opponent to dispatch, which he duly did, and when he knelt before me to receive the winner's purse, he swore that he would one day offer me his blade in service. Surrounded as I was by liars and manipulators, I confess I dismissed it as a pleasant piece of theater. But, as you know, Raoban is a man of his word. Though it took him another 5 years of fighting on the Blood Sands, he amassed a fortune so great as to buy not only his freedom, but a seat on the Syndicate. And then I had my blade. Oh, hold on, sorry. Victory music.
Your Grace, you mustn't! The danger is too great! Please, Your Grace, come back! I beg of you!
It seems you're the one who needs looking after, Master Sham. Raoban!
Your Grace, I have kept the promise made.
So you have, and in turn, so too shall I keep mine. With your winnings, you have become one of the 6 most wealthy souls in all Uldar, and so, as tradition dictates, Raoban Aldin, you have earned yourself a seat on the Syndicate. May your new station garner you still greater glories.
I am honored, Your Grace, and vow to serve with every fiber of my being from this day till my last. Long live the Sultana, and long live Uldar!
Nice getting to see that little bit of history between you two. Words cannot well express what that man means to me. There are others who care deeply for my well-being, of course. Papa Shan's love for me is as that of a grandsire for his grandchild. But upon matters of governance, I cannot turn to bodyguards and maidservants for counsel. Raoban, with the authority of his syndicate position, was the first sword I could wield. His was the only edge which could cut the strings that bound me. I definitely can see why he's so important. Nanamo seems lost in the thoughts of the past. We must make haste. My absence will not go unnoticed by the Sultan Sworn for long, and there are other places I would visit. To the Arzaneth ossuary. Where is that one? There's a lot about my home town and its surroundings that I am not familiar with. Where on earth is the... Oh, it's right. It's the Black Mages and Thaumaturges HQ, right here in town. Got it. Yes. There we go. We've been in here a time or two before. When the calamity threatened, Raoban led the Alliance forces into battle on the plains of Cartano, and I remained here. I prayed with all my heart that Archon Louisoix would have the power to rouse the 12. Since that day, I've made a custom of visiting this shrine during each of my little excursions. Here, I seek the blessing of Thal, reflect upon my choices, and ask myself if I'm fulfilling my duties as Sultana. You are rightly celebrated as a champion, because you've led the line in 100 battles for the good of Eorzea. In much the same way, I believe the measure of a monarch lies in how she leads her people in times of adversity. If I'm to be a Sultana worthy of the name, I cannot turn a blind eye to the troubles facing Ul'dah. I've chosen my path, Derman. With Ala Mhigo now freed from Imperial chains, I finally see a way to aid the refugees. Already, many displaced Ala Mhigans seek to begin the long trek home. To facilitate that process, I've made a small contribution, an artisan's school in Rhalgr's Reach for any who wish to learn new trades. Realistically, however, it'll take years for such training to yield tangible benefits. But we do not have years. These people will need shelter and employment if they are to survive, and this time the Ul'dan treasury shall provide. Precisely where and how to allocate the necessary funds is, of course, another question. Might you ask a member of the Syndicate for advice, or why not seek the advice of one who employs refugees, which is probably also mostly Syndicate people? I don't like our two options here very much. But this one at least might not be a Syndicate member, and that I think we can all appreciate. A wise suggestion. Mayhap a visit to the Gold Saucer is in order. Its proprietor is a member of the Syndicate, and he's one of the few who pay refugees a fair wage. I wonder, are you acquainted with Godbert Manderville?
Am I?
He runs the Gold Saucer, by the way. I don't remember if that ever came up in the Manderville or the Hildebrand quests, but, yeah. Then I need not explain his eccentric nature. Let us make our way to the landing, and I will see that word is sent to the Gold Saucer. Godbert should be only too glad to receive us. And I am perfectly happy for a chance to see Godbert again. You gotta love a Manderville man. All set to fly to the Gold Saucer? I've ridden aboard a public airship before, but this shall be my first visit to the Gold Saucer. I must confess to some excitement. Oh, it is quite a place. I doubt we'll have much time for you to actually enjoy it, but still, quite a place. Could I get a ride to the Gold Saucer? Thank you. And here we are. Hello again. Nice being here on purpose for a change. I had heard descriptions of its splendor, yet I never dreamed it would be so bright and inviting. No, I couldn't possibly. We did not come here to fritter away the royal coin. Godbert will be expecting us. Come, let us head directly to the lounge and ignore these gaudy temptations. It does look like fun, though. It's okay. Let's see, I think I need to be heading up above. I think the meeting place will be up here somewhere. Probably the seating area. Maybe the one with a huge statue of the owner. Yep. That's the guy, and this is the place. I believe this is where we are to meet Lord Manderville. Shall we sit while we await his coming? Oh man, I just realized I have to try Joe Cat's voice.
My apologies, Your Grace. I've kept you waiting.
No apologies are necessary, Godbert. My request was sudden, and you were kind to make yourself available at such short notice.
When the intrepid Derman Dirami and the Sultana herself came calling, there's no more important engagement.
As to the purpose of my visit, I would have your thoughts on how the Crown might best aid the refugees residing in Thanalin. You are aware, I'm sure, that many of Ala Mhigo's displaced sons and daughters long to return to their newly liberated homeland, and you're also aware of how they will suffer without shelter and work to sustain them. I would use our nation's wealth to spare them that suffering. What advice have you for me on the matter of how it might be best... Bleh. What advice have you for me on the matter of how it might best be distributed?
The unusual circumstances of our meeting, and your Grace's choice of companion, would suggest to me a desire for an honest and unvarnished opinion. I shall give you one. My advice to you is stop. Taxing Uldar's wealth to save Alamegan refugees is a terrible, terrible idea.
Oh. You oppose my proposition?
Most emphatically. I agree with your Grace that the refugees must have housing and employment, but what profit is there for Uldar in this arrangement?
Profit? After all you've done for Girabania's displaced, I thought you the very last person to seek to benefit from their misfortune.
Forgive me, your Grace, but you appear to be laboring under a misapprehension. It is a fine endeavor to support one's fellow man. I fear, however, that your stance is one born of pity. Your intent is to save the refugees, is it not? For all our potential, we are indolent creatures by nature. If unconditional charity is all we know, then we begin to rely upon it, to expect it. And then we must consider Uldar's own poor and downtrodden. Should they hear of you spending the nation's coin not to improve their lot but to nurture the distant citizens of Alamigo, it is unlikely they will applaud your generosity. Surely it is not your Grace's intention to foster new resentments, but to spread goodwill.
Indeed. Then any support I pledge to the refugees must promote self-sufficiency, whilst also serving the interests of the people of Uldar.
Exactly so. Such an arrangement will create a far more equitable relationship with the returning Alamegans, even as it generates the revenue required to win the approval of your subjects.
You've given me much to ponder, Lord Manderville. I thank you for your candor. It's so weird having him actually show up in the main story in any capacity. At any point. And not being extremely wacky. Nanamo appears to be reassessing her plans. Profit. The thought never even crossed my mind. But standing about lamenting my naivety will not do anyone any good. I shall consider my lesson learned and press on. Derman, are you perchance acquainted with any successful merchants? If my attempt at philanthropy is obliged to reap a profit, it would seem wise to consult someone with a knack for business. Well... Ordinarily, I would not trust any agent of the East Aldenard Trading Company, but if you hold this Hancock fellow in high esteem, I'm content to be led by you. You may repay my faith by journeying to distant Kugane and speaking with him on my behalf. Eager though I am to visit those shores, I have not the leisure for a lengthy sea voyage. Now, assuming you will travel as adventurers are wont to do, I shall await your report by the Aetheryte in Ul'dah. A fair journey to you, Derman. And a swift one, if you please.
I'll go as quick as I can. I was actually going to recommend Tataru, but... yeah, no, this works out. You can't have Tataru. We need Tataru. Or else the Scions are gonna, crumble like a pile of sticks. Let me get out to Kugane. And here we are once again. And a lovely day. Who'd have thought? All right. Could you let me in, please? Greetings, honored sir. Will you be entering the Ruby Bazaar? Stop mocking me. Open the door. Thank you. Hancock. Derman, to what do I owe the pleasure? Or are you here on business? We need advice. I beg your pardon. Her Grace the Sultana would have my opinion on how best to invest the wealth of Ul'dah. My dear Derman, I have you to thank for this recognition, I'm sure. And I am flattered that you came to me, truly flattered. But why settle for a lowly apprentice when you could have the master? Upon matters of profit, there is no living soul better qualified to advise Her Grace than Chairman Lolarito, a man whose morning exertions are said to fill his garter robe with gold. Colorful, thank you. I should be happy to arrange a meeting for you, say at the Scion's former headquarters in Thandalin. The Waking Sands would seem a suitably neutral venue for negotiations, don't you think? Fare you well, Derman, and may your dealings prove fruitful.
This is not how I wanted this to go, Hancock. I came a very long way. All right, fine. She's not going to like this. Your Grace. Hello. Your Grace, I come bearing... Well, you're not going to like it. Welcome back, Derman. Did your merchant friend have any useful advice to share? Yeah. With Lolorito? And you agreed to this? I'm well aware of his standing in the field of business, but I had hoped to keep the monetarist at arm's length, and him in particular. Nay, I cannot live in fear of the man. I must learn how to treat with him if I am to rule Ul'dah effectively. Very well. I'll meet with Lolorito. Let us go on ahead to the Waking Sands and prepare for his coming. It's a plan. Oh, you dropped us right outside. Lovely. Well, after you. So this is where the Scions first congregated. I've heard many tales, but never had occasion to visit. To work, then. The hour of the meeting draws near, and I would gather my thoughts. Pray see to it that we have the appointed room to ourselves. Will do. I shall let Urianger know to expect guests.
A personal summons from the Scions. This must be important business indeed. Though, if it concerns anything so underhand as an assassination, I fear I can be of little help.
Mm-hmm. Have a seat.
You have made your point. 'Tis indeed unsettling to find oneself seated across from an impassive mask. There, would this better please your grace? Or should I address you as Lady Lilira?
Nay, the deception has served its purpose. I'm glad to see you found amusement in my little jest, Lord Lolorito, but shall we proceed to the business at hand?
By all means. I must say I am most eager to hear your proposal.
Simply put, I would aid the refugees camped in Thanalan in their efforts to return to Alamigo. The reparations you paid in the wake of your earlier misdemeanors will be used to fund the endeavor, together with the fortune seized from the late Teleji Adeleji's estate. But this plan is not intended to benefit the displaced alone. I would make of this an investment which shall enrich Ul'dah and Alamigo both. And who better to consult on matters of profit than the wealthiest man in all of Thanalan? I beseech you then, Lord Lolorito, share with us your mercantile wisdom.
Ah, 'twould seem your grace has matured beyond acts of earnest yet misplaced charity. Pray tell me more. To summarize, in return for facilitating the repatriation of refugees and assisting in the establishment of new industry in Alamigo, you ask that a proportion of all subsequent profits be promised to Ul'dah. Ha! I am impressed, Your Grace. 'Tis an elegant solution, albeit one lacking certain crucial details, specifically which industry and where.
How swiftly you identified the weakness in my plan. just as I knew you would. Your travels have taken you across the length and breadth of Gir Abania, and you know the land far better than I. Which of the settlements you visited would best provide a home for our refugees? Which has the greatest potential to flourish, given the appropriate investment?
Let's see. There's Alagana, Alagiri, and the Saltery. The salt does seem like a potentially useful resource. I'm trying to recall if it was Alagana or Alagiri that had the quarry. Though I don't know how useful stone is these days for any of the nations that they'd be trading with. The Saltery does seem like a pretty sure bet, though.
Ah, yes, that desolate little village on the shore of Logsdon. I know the Saltery and its products well. The Imperial invasion brought an end to their more widespread distribution, much to the dismay of many a wealthy gourmand, myself included. Salt has ever been a transformative ingredient, and in this instance, I dare say, it could transform a modicum of effort into a mountain of gill.
The local citizens will need to be consulted, of course, but I trust the East Aldenar Trading Company can be relied upon to provide its assistance in negotiating a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Naturally, Your Grace. I shall dispatch representatives well-versed in the extraction of this white gold and wring every last ounce of profit from its production. The Loch's bounty will contribute to Alamigo's enrichment, whilst easing the burden on the bull's aching shoulders, just as Your Grace desired.
A deal is struck, then.
Hey, good for you. Well played. I fear it will be many years before I feel comfortable taking part in such negotiations. But I shall not complain. We have piqued Lolorito's interest and secured his invaluable expertise. Thank you, Derman. I could not have done it without you. I don't know, I was mostly just standing around and here for a lot of it, but happy to contribute. So, yeah, why not? We'll keep going. You know, in the earlier scene with the gold saucer, when I originally experienced it, I did like kind of have an initial pang of like, I don't know if I'm loving the perspective they're bringing to this of like, well, you know, if we offer any help, the folks will just grow to depend on it, and that's no good. But like, I do actually appreciate and understand kind of like the wisdom they're trying to get at here. A momentary move of charity, while well-intentioned, is not going to sustain anything long-term, and it's going to be a really bad PR move for a leader who is already in a pretty tenuous political position in this city. Try to build up something that is mutually profitable, and that can be a thing that long-term benefits both nations way better and is a PR win for you, and everyone wins in that case. And that makes a whole lot of sense. Nanamo is ready to move ahead with her plans. Our course is decided. I shall return to the palace and have my ministers begin work on implementing the particulars of the plan. If I could prevail upon you one more time, Derman, I would ask that you convey the details of our negotiations to Commander Hext on your return to Alamigo. Can do. My thanks again. Together we have laid the groundwork for an endeavor which promises to benefit the peoples of Alamigo and Ul'dah both. And I am glad for that. You need not accompany me back to the palace. I will have Papashan arrange an escort. That is, if he hasn't already organized a search party. I've been absent for rather longer than intended. I'm sure he is very worried right now. I'm going to head over to the Alamigan quarter and let Lise know the good news. Please, good news. Also, hi everyone. Welcome back, Derman. How was your audience with the Sultana? Quite informative, and I was very unnecessary for a lot of it. In your absence, I've kept myself busy cataloging the riches of the Mad King's trove and calculating its worth and gil. I have some way to go, but the figure is already quite staggering. Oh, greetings, Derman. I'm actually in the middle of reporting to the commander here, so... Oh, don't mind me. Derman, you're back. What did Nanamo... Oh, sorry. Are you allowed to talk about your audience with the Sultana? I think so. So, Raban says he's going to return to Ul'dah, but she isn't sure he wants to. Tell us something we don't know. But I am pleased to hear she's committed to helping our refugees come home. And this plan to revitalize the Saltery does make a lot of sense. Quite how you convinced her to seek Lolorito's help is another question. After all that has happened, he's the very last person I would expect her to turn to for advice. But on a more practical note, Lise, assuming the interim government elects to accept Uldah's proposal, I have one caveat I should like you to include in the bargain. Alamigo must be permitted to cover a portion of the investment. We have a fortune at our disposal, after all, and allowing Ul'dah to provide the entirety of the capital will afford Lolorito too much control. Honestly, Alphino, it's like Kugane never happened. What exactly does a ruthless profiteer have to do to earn your trust? But yes, you do make a good point. First things first, though. We need to discuss this proposal with the Saltery's residents. Whisker, how do you fancy explaining the Sultana's plan to your grandfather? I'd like to hear what Watt thinks of the idea before agreeing to anything. Right away, Commander. Would you mind coming along, Derman? I might need you to fill in the details. Then I shall come as well. Should Watt wish to discuss figures, my knowledge of the nation's finances may prove useful. Sounds good. Although I might need to actually save the rest of this quest for next time. It's occurring to me that if I go ahead and finish this one out, next episode might be quite short. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and call it, and I will see you all next time to finish this quest and the rest of the 4.1 patch campaign story. You know what I mean. Take care, all of you. I'll see you next time for the rest. Bye!